and welcome to this Thursday stream of Las Plumas de Simur. My name is Plumas and I'm going to be your host for the rest of the evening, although we are entrusting ourselves, I was going to say to the div or the jinn, but I don't trust those, so we're going to entrust ourselves to the luminaries, because where I live at the moment, we have issues with the weather. And I am looking that way because that's where my window is. So I am hoping that everything is able to run smoothly. Because in all honesty, if you hear some smashing or clacking or rattling, that is my window. But I'm perfectly safe, don't worry. It's just the noise is quite... The noise is a thing. Like one of my very good friends says, it is a thing. And I'm trusting that everything is going to work properly. This appears to be running smoothly as far as I'm aware, so we're just gonna, if you see me dramatically turning that way, it's because of that. It's because of the noise and all the rattling, because I need to know if I have to jump out of my chair and grab, I don't know, the glass from a window, as it is going to fly over my head and possibly perch on my forehead in a very dramatic Happy Tree Friends meets Five Nights at Freddy's go-ish fashion, because a girl likes what she likes. How's everyone doing this afternoon? I am tired. I'm a wee tired, but Salom, Humberto, how are you? Salom, merci. Oh, it's so good to see you back. Pato literario, el pato. Oh my god, such a pressure of you being here because you're the expert, so I'm hoping to do a good job. This is very nice that you've been able to come by, because I know you're very active also. But pato literato, I'm going to switch to Spanish just for a moment. But el pato literato tiene un canal de divulgación sobre Mesopotamia que ya quisiera yo llegar al nivel. Es increíble y os lo voy a compartir por aquí, pero creo que mi visir no está. So, hold on for a moment, because we need to... there's one thing I love more than a very nice warm cup of tea that says mana, because yes, I play with spellcasters. What do you play with? You know, in RPGs, tabletop RPGs and such of the fashion, what is it you play with? I am a spellcaster girl. Definitely. Like, all hail the spellcasters. If there is something I like more than a spellcaster's teacup filled to the brim with a very nice, dark, steamy, boiling hot black tea, is just showing off my bacha. Because my bacha, God and Satan dressed as a gitana, God, they are talented. And I am so proud of so many of you. And unfortunately, if you don't know Spanish, it's going to be a tad difficult, because I don't know. Pato, ¿tienes subtítulos tus vídeos? I'm very much aware that his name is not Pato, but I like calling him Pato because that's what it says in his nickname. Pato Literato, divulgación literaria. So, I'm just gonna put this one here. I know, isn't it super beautiful? I want to get another one for Bob. That would probably say... I was going to say Paladin, but no, not the Paladin. What does Bob play normally with? Warrior? Yeah? Yeah, Warrior, or like Goliath or Barbarian, but not yet. I mean, eventually, in time. The lighting is awful. I am pale. I'm very much aware that I am as white as a sheet of paper. Yes, you don't need to tell me that, but it's a tad too much. Allow me to... Is this better? It's because of the... It's because of that. Not gonna stand up. I am too tired to do that. Okay, but maybe eventually we'll get the subtitles. Jersey wants to know her Babylonian horoscope. It is tan bonita, mi niña preciosa. Hi! I'm passionate in Spanish. Yesterday, we had a super beautiful and I hope entertaining visit to the virtual reconstruction of Persepolis. And I love how to express this properly, so you understand that I'm not showing off. But it took me so many years, I dare say decades, to embrace the fact that I could speak two languages, both with an accent. And I used to be very ashamed of my accent. And you may think, if you are Spanish native speaker, you may think that I don't have an accent, but I do, because I am a native speaker of Spanish. I don't consider myself to be bilingual just yet, but it took me decades to embrace my own accent and acknowledge the capacity of my brain to speak and communicate in two languages. That's the reason why now I am zero ashamed of dropping a Spanish word when I'm speaking in English, or the opposite, dropping an English word when I'm speaking in Spanish, because that's just how my brain thinks. So we complicate it sometimes being in my head, but I was saying this because the visit yesterday was so entertaining and heartwarming, and I think part of it was because we were able to communicate in both languages. Sometimes even we attempted to be even speaking in Italian. Umberto is the only one who properly speaks Italian, mind you, but I just like it. I like to I would love to speak Italian at some point. I need to trick him into teaching me, and I want your brain. Trust me, you don't. You may want some of the abilities encapsulated and stored in my brain, but you don't want my brain. You say, I love you better than this. And this is always you can do. That's the reason why I really appreciate when Spanish native speakers come to my English streams, because I have been told that they want to improve their English, and that you, Bachar, choose to do this with me. It's humbling, and it is such an honor. Thank you for trusting. I'm not an English teaching channel, but I can help you with that. And also, if you are learning a language and you think, oh, I'm so jealous, I would love to have these person's capacity to speak in X or Y language, just practice. Shake off the shame. There is no vergüenza. There is no vergüenza whatsoever. You should not be ashamed. Your brain is expanding. It's like a muscle. You ought to train it. And speak all the time you can. Just go to this. Umberto does it, not much, but he does it just a wee bit, and it's adorable because he is a fantastic person. If you don't know who Umberto is, you should, first of all, hold on. You should follow So You Think You Can Rule Persia, which is their podcast, and it's incredible. That's good. Being shameless is a personality trait, and I embrace it. You should follow So You Think You Can Rule Persia. It's a podcast in which Humberto and Sariel rank the kings of the province of Fars, and it's fantastic. And also, I recommend you to have a browse on YouTube and watch the videos in which Humberto and Sariel appear. We celebrated Yalda with Humberto, and we had Sariel and Humberto over just yesterday for this virtual visit, and it just makes my heart sing and dance, because they are incredible people, and I do truly believe they do such a good job. It's just a fine work in sharing this divulgación irania, and they make me feel less alone. Why am I so... I can't curse on Twitch. I can't. Jolines, I would say that's the only word I can convey right now. Okay, so enough with the chit chat. We are going to delve with today's topic, which are horoscope. Focus on me, like Ariana Grande. Focus on me. Thank you. We're going to focus today in Babylonian horoscopes, and I think you might be surprised, because a horoscope is not exactly what we understand nowadays by a horoscope, meaning that I would not go and read my horoscope in Babylon back in the time. It's not like, oh, you are, I don't know, Pisces, for example. I'm a Pisces. What is this week holding for me? Now, that's not the way it works. But we shall discover it today. This is not, back in the day, when I was preparing this stream, I didn't have the time to actually sit and gather can type everything as I want to normally do it, meaning that I don't have a script like the one I normally make, and I used to make. Why did I say used to make? I still do that. Like the ones I normally make, because maybe you don't. Salam Blue, Salam Blue. Oh, Salam Klein. How are you? Are you good? Did you have fun yesterday playing your game? Because this is something I've expressed sometimes, and I explained to you. I like thorough detail work, and I don't enjoy that much just working with a bunch of notes, because especially if I am dealing with a topic I'm not an expert in, such as Babylonian horoscopes, I want to prepare a better script for you guys to listen to me, and for the script, for the speech to be coherent and immersive, we could say. I am very busy at work lately, and the people who know me outside of this know why. Thank you for your support, by the way. You were lovely. But I didn't have time. Therefore, what I had is a bunch of notes, and we're going to comment on them. Hopefully, it won't be as chaotic. But something that I've just realized I forgot to add to the title is that this is going to be just the first part of a series, because there's so much to say about Babylonian horoscopes. When I started reading about this, my idea was completely different. I wanted to do something lighthearted, just like tread slightly onto the topic. And then I started studying, and I started discovering more and more sources, and I was aware of the vast universe that is condensed in just the topic of Babylonian astronomy and astrology. We've covered this already. We have a stream on Babylonian astronomy and astrology. You can check that one on YouTube. But just the horoscopes, I think they could make a very nice series for me to just explain everything from the origin to what is really a horoscope, and then delving into the subject a little bit deeper and a little bit more accurately, like cherry picking the stuff. So, without further ado, let us talk about the Babylonian horoscopes. Again, I'm going to be reading from my notes. So if you want, as always, to ask any questions, you're more than welcome to do so. You can post them in the chat. You may think that I'm not reading you, but I am reading you. Sometimes I don't stop speaking because I don't want the idea to get lost. I am very easily lost in my own train of thought, let alone just can imagine if I am talking to you. So, if you have any questions, just type them in the chat, and then I will address them whenever I have a chance. All right. First thing is first. As always, I didn't want to show, well, this is a very nice introductory image, but what I want to show you is this. Ooh, there you go. Context is required. Context is something necessary in this case, because I'm talking about Babylonian horoscopes. But what is exactly Babylonia? What is what we consider Babylonia, and what is that in this big umbrella? Salam, Capitan. You good? So strictly speaking, very strictly speaking, Babylonia is a cultural hub, and well, you can see it written as the Babylonian Empire, but one day we have to have this debate whether to use the word empire or not. That's entirely a different topic for a different afternoon, but I want to put that idea out in the world to hopefully remember myself when I have a chance. So strictly speaking, Babylonia is a cultural area based in the city of Babylon as the center in the southern areas of Mesopotamia, like the one you have in the map. And this was at first an Akkadian-speaking hub, and then it grew stronger, and both economically and politically, until it got separated and formed its own state to govern as with the city of Babylon as a capital. Babylonia doesn't have, like many other things in the Fertile Crescent, it doesn't have a straight, undivided timeline, because we find many moments of their existence. In fact, and interestingly enough, if you Google Babylonia and you look at the timeline, you would see that the dates noted there at the beginning in 1894 before Common Era towards 539 before Common Era. What happened in 539 before Common Era? Cyrus the Great happened. This is the moment in which Cyrus conquers Babylonia and annexes its territories to the kingdom of Anshan. Because remember, Bachar, Cyrus never thought of himself as an Achaemenid. He was the king of Anshan. He always referred to himself as a king of Anshan because any excuse is good to mention Cyrus. And during that period, we have a lot of dynasties, some of them with quite funny names, at least in Spanish. For example, the Casita, the Kassite dynasty. And there's multiple dynasties that rule. There's the Empire of Hammurabi, which is the map you have over here, with the Amorita dynasty, or Amorite. I don't know how to pronounce that thing in English. And see, I'm just going to pronounce it in Spanish because I don't know how to say this in English. So the Amorite or Amorita, the Amoritan dynasty. And then it goes Hammurabi, who is possibly the best known person from that time. And that really goes beyond that. We moving into the Kassite dynasty, and then there is a second dynasty of Isin, and everything this is happening in the second millennia before Common Era, moving into the Assyrian rule in the first millennia before Common Era. Yet the horoscopes we're going to talk about today are dated a little bit after that, and that is the 5th or the 4th century before Common Era, when Babylonia was under Greek Hellenistic better rule. How come? Because it happened. Do you know the Seleucids, and do you know Alexander of Macedonia and Iskandar and all this jazz? So the examples we have remaining today belong to that time. But why still am I calling this the Babylonian horoscope stream? Because the tradition was created and it was inherited from very, very far back in time. And as always, remember that everything we coin under the name Mesopotamia, everything we label Mesopotamia or Fertile Crescent, admits a lot of subtleties and a lot of nuance, because there's multiple cultures, there's multiple spaces. Solely in the Babylonian scope, we have more than 1,000 years of culture happening, of history being developed in 1,000 years, and that's just Babylonia, what we consider Babylonia. Imagine all of this, but with the Fertile Crescent. We're talking about 3,000 to 4,000 years of history. It's difficult to gather everything, and there was just one word, which is Mesopotamia. I tend to use, especially lately, Fertile Crescent because I like it to be a little more geographical, if you know what I mean, not ascribe necessarily to a time or to a culture. It's not perfect, but it's what we have. As always, as I always say, the most important thing is that you make yourself understood and you understand what you're doing. And if you use Mesopotamia, that is perfectly correct. Now, we're going to see our first horoscope. Is this the one? In here? Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the one I had before. So, yeah, we can see this. This is a Babylonian horoscope with the triagrams from the zodiac. We're not going to talk about the zodiac today. Why? Because it would take me a 3-hour stream to just start to explain to you how cool the zodiac was. I'm leaving that for part 2. Worry not. So, first thing is first, what is a horoscope? What is it we understand when we say Babylonian horoscope? Because it could be tempting to just think about either a Greek horoscope, if you know a little bit about astronomy and astrology from the ancient world, or, as we were saying before, just to think as a horoscope as we have today, like in present day. Something important to take under account. I'm gonna light a candle on screen. Is that okay? It's just a candle for my tea. And yes, I've not gone mad for my tea, meaning that this is the base I use to keep my tea warm. You put the candle in the middle and then it warms up the whole thing. And something important to note is that in ancient history, and actually throughout all what we consider history until very recently, and very recently I emphasize 18th or 19th century, that's what I'm talking about, astronomy and astrology are the same concept. They're not separated, they are not understood separately, rather together. They are just one science to create. And in here, it's very interesting to delve into the preciseness and the detail and the precision of the science, because of the sky observation and the data collected, and then this mythical, this omen element that always looms there and permeates everything else, because after all, a horoscope is made to do a prediction, an omen. So even though the term itself derives from the Greek word horoscopos, I am guessing. I don't read Greek, but yes, I'm guessing this is horoscopos, and then the Latin horoscopum. It's not the same. The Babylonian and Greek horoscopes are different. They are different in many things, and today we're gonna see some of them. I'm going to do something, and I do not think this is going to be good. Oh yeah, this is a little bit wood. This is better. So some concepts are very well associated with both. I was mentioning astrology, the influence of the planets, the representation of the universe. Yes, this is common. But actually, a Babylonian horoscope is a document that gathers and records a series of astronomical data that have been determined to occur on or near the date of the birth of a person. And this is very important for you to understand. It's data. As boring and disappointing, to me fantastic and fascinating as that sounds, it's just a big list of data. As a picture of how the sky was looking the very exact moment in which you were born. This is what sometimes we know in modern days as, how do you say this in English? Carta astral? I think I never said this word in English. Oh, you use horoscope? Oh no, natal chart. That is that is the natal chart. That is the exact picture of the heaven, and from there, from all the data gathered from observing, thank you, Pichu, yes, natal chart. From all the data gathered from observing the sky, predictions could be made, and information about the individual could be extracted, be it about their personalities, what their life would look like, and so much more, because you could be as detailed or as shallow as you wish. And they also, in the Babylonian examples that we have remaining, we have the hour, the exact hour noted, or maybe a time respect to the seasonal hour, because I will deal with this in a moment, but just for you to know, in Babylonian time, you have 1/12 length slots throughout the day and through the night. So you would mark one of the 12. And also they provide planetary positions, like where the planets were in the zodiac for that precise moment in which the person was born. And it's not even though they use the same techniques, and this is very interesting, the Babylonian horoscopes and the Greek horoscopes, they not collect the same information, even though the technique is the same. This is a bit difficult to assume at the first part, but it's one of the main differences. You have the same way of gathering some data, but you're not collecting the same data. For example, in the Greek horoscope, the time of the day is not important. It doesn't really matter when the person was born. Rather, they point to the ecliptic, to the ascendant of the zodiac, which is something we have inherited here in Western natal charts, and now is something that is quite trendy, I want to say, when you say, oh yeah, my zodiac sign is, I don't know, Leo, but my ascending is Aries or like Capricorn. I don't know about this stuff, okay? Also, it is needed to say that I don't believe in astrology. I'm not a particular fan of the astrology exercise, yet I respect it, and I think that as long as you're doing people no harm, it's quite okay for you to believe in whatever you want. I don't have a problem with astrology. Oh, thank you, Pato. That is I appreciate it. You're working, Godspeed, and yeah, just go, Wacha, and work very hard, but not too hard. Work smarter, not harder. What was it in? Oh yeah, I was talking about the collection of data in here. So the basic idea for a horoscope is, as I was saying, to predict the personality and the life of the person that was just born based. Salam, Eric, are you right? Based on the astronomical phenomena associated with the birth date, and this is originally a Babylonian thing. It is in Babylonia where it starts. That's the reason I wanted to comment on the context and the general scope of time, because the Greeks inherited from Babylonia. They took the speciality, and they reflect substantially what the Babylonians started doing. And even though the horoscopes that we preserve now do not date back to Hammurabi times, the technique did not vary. And that is something very impressive, because we could apply this not only to ancient Babylonia and to ancient Greece, but also throughout the whole, what we consider Middle Ages in Iran and in the Islamic world. They're using the same technique to predict the life of a person based on the horoscope and a natal chart. It is incredible seeing how this observation and the importance and the ordinance of data sticks the same for millennia. At least to me, that is very, very, very impressive. And but I wanted for you to know that this idea of prediction based on what the sky looks like when you are born, that starts in Babylonia. And then Hellas takes it because it's a good thing to do, and they really enjoy it. And it's a very good reflection of the system. And we have some. Sorry, I am lost in my notes. And also something very important to bear in mind is that despite the horoscopes being produced in a time in which the Hellenic influence was greater and more important, we still cannot put them as parallels just because they are the same. Greek horoscopes and Babylonian horoscopes are not the same. And why am I saying this? Because of the cultural context, the cultural background, the languages that are being spoken, the geographical situation, everything influences how these horoscopes are conveyed, gathered, and created, and then written down. And the cultural bubble, the circumstances in which they are created are fundamentally different, even though they speak perhaps the same language, because yes, they spoke Greek in Babylonian back in the 6th and 5th, 4th and 3rd century before Corinth. They spoke Greek in Babylonian because there was Greek-speaking people in there. The language is not the same. The traditions are not the same. The culture is just different. Therefore, even though it is the same thing, we could not just assume they would be copies one of the other because of the context in which they were created. Let's see another one. I want to show you one that I really like because I think it's beautiful. And it's a picture. It's a drawing from a horoscope showing 3 things that I deem very beautiful. The first one, starting from the left side, is the Pleiades, or however you pronounce that in English, is the 7-star Pleiades, we say in Spanish. And I've never pronounced it in English, so let me just Google how you pronounce this thing. Pleiades. Okay, so the Pleiades, these are the Pleiades, the 7 stars altogether. Then we Pleiades. Thank you, Umberto. I really appreciate that you're here because you are basically the person teaching me how to speak and pronounce things in Greek, in English. That, as a native Roman language speaker, it is convoluted. My brain is confused because it's written in Greek, which I sort of read. Therefore, my brain is inclined to one pronunciation, but I'm speaking in English. And it's did you see why I lasted, well, I don't know, like 30 plus years of my life without knowing how to say Xerxes? Because I see it and I see Xerxes. Xerxes. What is it? Where's the Z? Xerxes. Where is the Z? Is it X? Is aquí? Food for thought. Ese debate para otro día. Pichu, it might count among the weirdest things I've done in my life. And it's really strange. Though you can really feel the cortocircuito mental, like the brain shock, the electrical wave going through my brain cells, being like, what is that going on? But yet, alas, this is what we have. A bit. Oh yeah, I was talking about the man in the moon, and then we have the bowl of heavens, which is. Hello, I salute you, my team cow. The bowl of heavens is among the most important astrological, mythological, and astronomical creatures in the Fertile Crescent folklore. And yes, this is the preconfiguration of our constellation of Taurus. And I love him. And apparently the Taurus thing was very positive in the Fertile Crescent, but not so positive when it appeared in the Greek horoscopes. I don't know why. We had a little bit of a chat about that last week. We were considering whether it would be like because the bowl of Crete, sorry. And I don't know. I don't work with Greek mythology, so I'm unsure of that. But it's a beautiful thing that we have a bowl. Because we love a good bowl, because we are the team cow. And we are here to love the little bovines. There you go, that's much better. This tea is so nice, by the way. So nice. So happy with it. So yeah, a little bit of history. The first cuneiform horoscopes came as a part of the Salon VC that was fully available soon. Okay, so drive safely, please. Thank you. We appreciate. So the first batch of horoscope cuneiforms, they were discovered and deciphered in the late 19th century by 3 scholars. They were J. Epping, Strassmayer, and Kugler, all 3 German. And in 1888, only 1 horoscope was known because they were deciphered, yet they were not categorized because it was a little bit weird. It was a weird conjunction of text, and people really didn't know what they were exactly. And what's going on with the light? Oh, Jesús bendito. Let me just... Yeah, that's much better. I was being ironic, by the way. What's going on with the light? I don't know. I am pale as a folio, which I am in real life, but not that pale as a folio. I don't have a face. If I look at you, it just my features disappear in the immensity of the pale light. Anywho, and then in 1888, I was saying that only 1 horoscope was identified as a horoscope because they didn't know exactly what these texts were for. And then later in 1920, more were published. However, it was not until 1960, the decade of the 60s, that more examples were found in the British Museum by the scholar Abraham Sachs. And now we have 28 Babylonian horoscopes tablets, and this group is so varied because of the dating we have. The chronological range of these are from the 410 before Common Era to the 69 before Common Era. So we have Achaemenid, Parthian, and Seleucid periods. Roughly, the biggest batch of them is between the 5th and the 4th century before Common Era. And it's much more... How would I say this? These horoscopes are so interesting because they're very practical. They're very astronomical instead of being more astrological, meaning that the predictions, the omens there are almost absent. And that is something strange, particular, I dare say, because as I was saying, a horoscope was intentionally created to predict your life. And they're very precise in the sky observation. Very precise. Truthfully, stick with me in this. Super precise. Because, okay, all of them are dated to the birth of someone. And interestingly enough, there's 3 of them that contain more than one horoscope. We're talking about recycling here. And that gives us a lot of information. Like, for example, that horoscopes were not written exactly when the person was born in the date of the birth. And we don't have, however, a colophon. We don't have a date at the top expressing the date and time of the birth, and then underneath a colophon that indicates when the tablet was completed. No, we only have the date at the top, and they only refer to the date of birth. So we can't know exactly when they were composed, but clearly, if they were being recycled, this was made some time after. And given the existence both of birth notes and recording dates, and they could have been well prepared after, because there's a lot of information additional in these in these horoscopes. And there's one that is like Salam Sahra Hubi Khoshamadi. In one of the horoscopes, there's a space of 36 years between one and the other, meaning that the first horoscope was written and then 36 years passed and another horoscope was added. It could be that they were family. I don't know. I want to think that, but that is my own interpretation of the thing. By no means whatsoever take that as a fact. But when I was reading this, I thought, well, it could be that this person was born and then they became a parent and they wanted the horoscope of the newborn child attached to theirs. I don't know. I have no idea of this, but it just checks out. You know, it makes sense, at least to me. And also, this is not the only information they give us, because what I really enjoyed reading about this stream is, yes, mostly and mainly, sorry, I couldn't convey the word. Mainly, the horoscopes bring information about the position of the stars and the planets in the moment of birth, but they are also sources of information. For example, they're sources of techniques, both for writing a text and to observe the sky. They're sources of social context, intellectual context, of social information about the people who wrote it, and the reconstruction of the documents. The prediction itself, they tell us really little. However, we can know a lot. We can extract a lot of information from the fact that this exists. One of the things we can learn is that these was made thoroughly throughout the millennia, because the tradition of creating horoscopes is very ancient. And it's a document that recalls the position of the 7 spheres or the 7 planets, because yes, I'm very much aware that the sun and moon are not planets, but in this moment they were considered to be. And there's the sun, the moon, and then there's Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and Mars. I don't know why I always leave Mars for the last, but it's not an Earth. And then these astronomical data were presented in a standard formulation. Why is that important? Why should we care, Plumas, that these things have a standard formulation? Because it shows... Salam. There's a Jean over here saying hello to me. Hi. And I am not mad. There's a family living behind this curtain of stars. There's a family. There's a reason why I have a green screen, because I want to give them privacy. And also because this looks so good. Why should we care? Sorry, vuelve. Why should we care that this has a formulation? Because it shows professionalization. This is a job, a standard one, and it's done always in the same fashion, because it is important to keep things running with the same instructions. And as a game developer, this is something I praise, because they maintained the same formula throughout the centuries, nay, throughout the millennia. And this is incredible. So this normally goes as follows. It says X, like the name, and then the previous month begin, or the previous month being full or hollow. The previous month being complete, or we are in the middle. The night of the day the child was born. And the majority of horoscopes do not name the child for whom the horoscope is made, and they use the term Sheru Alid, which means the child is born. Last week we considered if this wouldn't be a way of, you know how high infantile mortality was back in the day, so maybe you didn't want to put your hope up. However, now reflecting upon that thought, if you are making this after the birth of the child, how much time is it that you wait? Because I don't know. I don't have an answer for why they don't put the name of the child, because in some of them we have names of children. And this Sheru Alid means like the child is born. And we have 7 horoscopes in which we do indeed have the name of the children. And 2 of them are Greek names that are so fun, because they're written in Babylonian cuneiform, but they are Greek names, and this means a wee modification of them. For example, we have Aristocrates, that's written Aristougirate, and then we have Nicanor, written Niknuuru. Why should we care? Why is it important that there's Greek people living in Babylon, or at least people naming their children with Greek names? Because of the Hellenization of Babylonia. These are from the early 3rd century, and it shows that even though the Greek names may not represent ethnic Greeks, the culture is there. The influence has been, or was being, so intense that people named their children after Greek people. We have no way of knowing if any of these were, as I was saying, ethnically from Hellas, but the cultural influence was such that they chose to put this name on the kids, and that is fascinating, and it tells a lot. And 3rd century before Common Era, sorry, Pichu, you're right. Like all the time I'm talking in here is before Common Era. Yeah, we're talking about the post-Iskandar Seleucid Babylonia, and I'm looking at you, Umberto. Am I right? Yeah, it's the Seleucs. The Seleucids are there. I don't know how to say Seleucidas in English, for crying out loud. Seleucs, because I say Seljuks, and the Seljuks are the Turks. So this was a nightmare already when I was studying. It was a nightmare. Yeah, but shall you excuse me for a split second? I will come back in just a heartbeat. Bargashtam, I am back. Sorry, the jinn wanted something. Yeah, it is in the Quran, although the Quranic version of the Babylonian magic is adorned, we could say, to be very polite, because they really did not know what it was, and the memory was not kept as fairly as it really was. So it's very fantastic in the most positive of ways. I mean that because there's these fantasy element to it. They don't know exactly what they are recalling, but they know that the idea of Babylonia, but that is inherited via the Arab folklore that comes in the 7th century. And that is an entirely different topic. But it's very interesting, the Quranic part. And we were talking about the ethnicity and the Greek people found in the horoscopes. This is very important for social and anthropological studies because you can see, allow me to say it once again, the influence of other cultures in a specific period in time. And we are going to change this one and we're going to see this. This is another horoscope. This is beautiful. This is a constellation of Virgo, the one with the crop. And then you have the evening star, the Estrella Vespertina, which is Inanna. Sorry, I was looking at my notes. I have told you about the names. I've told you about the people. Oh yeah. Who created this? Because I was emphasizing before so much the idea of a formula being kept through time, and I addressed the professionalization of the craft of making a horoscope. Why is this? Because we get to wonder who did this or how they did it. I said it was professionally done because it was a job. Creating horoscopes was indeed a job. And these group of scribes used the same vocabulary in these Seleucid influenced, like Hellenized Babylonia. They used the same vocabulary as on the late Babylonian astronomical text, both mathematical and non-mathematical. And even though we may assume that perhaps it was produced, they were produced, these horoscopes, by the same group of people, there's very little to be known. But language is very important. Formula, a job, a professionalization, there's a criteria to be maintained. And then perhaps it was not the same people, but the same school, the same institution, so to speak, was teaching the same way that they were the permanence of creating these horoscopes was due to the fact that these scribes belonged to the same school. And we do have names and patronyms and professions. Therefore, we know of a Hellenistic Babylonian group of astronomers. And in the Arsacid period, the Parthian period, there's a couple of administrative documents from the Marduk temple, Esagila on Babylon, that make reference to the scribes that specialize in celestial matters. And they call them the scribes of Enuma, Anu, Enlil, and they describe a specific astronomical work for which they received support in the form of land and silver and some cattle. The cross-reference has worked since day one in the creation of history as a discipline. And even though when we did this and we did not know it was history, what do I mean by that? That I always emphasize the importance of the context. and not only regarding geography and not only regarding cultures, but also the context surrounding a specific phenomenon. Why is this? Because we were talking about horoscopes and the sky, and I have not mentioned yet a single star, because this is not what this stream was about. I wanted you to know why are they important and the amount of information that we can extract from them just when we address them as a source. And what is cross-reference? Okay, cross-reference is when I have a document, a source of any kind. It could be a tablet, it could be a carpet, it could be a written chronicle, it could be a book, it could be a building. And then I cross-reference it with another contemporary source. It could be a building, it could be a piece of art, it could be a chronicle, it could be, in this case, we have the horoscope on one hand and an administrative document, an administrative tablet on the other. And when we cross-reference them, we find that, yeah, a horoscope was being made. Sorry, I'm crossing my legs. You should never sit with your legs crossed, but I do. Don't follow what I do. We have a group of scribes creating this, we have these horoscopes being made with names and some colophons. And then we have a receipt. We have a receipt of somebody paying another somebody professionally just for the job of creating a horoscope. And this, what does this bring you? That there was a job. It was a profession. People were dedicated just to celestial matters, as they themselves say. And they clarify in the temple documents, because if anything, the Fertile Crescent was precise in the keeping of data. And these temple documents clarify these Enuma, Anu, and Lil scribes associated with the temple, this temple of Esagila of Babylon, the temple of Marduk. Therefore, we know that the scribes belonged to the temple of Marduk. And I think this is super... ¿Por qué nos está dejando? Señora. Ahí está. Señora. Fócese. Fócese, señora. Ahí está. We know that these people were working in the temple of Marduk and they had a salary. This is incredible. It is for me. And however, the duties regarding celestial divination are not specified in the document. God damn it, I was so curious about that. And I bet that was the question many of you were going to ask. Like, Plumas, do we have any idea what they exactly did? Not really. But again, with cross-reference, we can figure it out a bit. I hope this stream is not too chaotic, but I'm here for the chaos. These group of the scribes are thought to have produced the tablets, at least the tablets that reference Hellenistic connected people, the Aristocrates and the Nicanor we were talking about before. And apparently, the people formed in Babylonia were so good at the job, at the celestial matters job, that throughout the Achaemenid, Parthian, and Seleucid periods, these scribes were sent to the courts to work for the kings. This is how good they were. This is how good they were. And this is something that really calls my attention, meaning that if we look at the three dynasties that I was just mentioning, Achaemenid, Seleucid, and Parthian, this is a good, say, 300, 400 years of history. And they always relate on Babylonia for the celestial matters. Are you following me? They were so good. The Babylonian sky observance and horoscope producers were so good that throughout the centuries, people from all the courts requested scribes from Babylonia, from the temples. In the case of this temple in the Parthian period, it belongs to the Marduk, but they requested Babylonian literati to move to their courts to work for them, because this is something very important that we need to acknowledge. Mostly these people worked for a very high circle of the highest circles of society, meaning, first of all, the king. There was no dispute about that. The service was devoted to the king. And of course, there we can add some aristocrats, the royal family, and some relevant people from the clerical class. But that would be a little bit brave for me to say. What is that, Eric? By using cross-reference, you can confirm things. You travel from theories or ideas to confirm historical truths, something people should know. Ridley Scott, for example. You've been watching the live stream about Ridley Scott with Pedro, David, and Daniel. Did you have fun? Because I had a blast. Yes, that is exactly correct. When you cross-reference, you confirm certain theories. Like, for example, that there was a professionalized corpus of scribes working under a salary in Babylonia. More information, and this is... Do I have something else to show you? Oh, yes, we have this seal. Nothing to do with astrological subjects, but we have Inanna there, and that is beautiful. That's it, period. And this is from the 18th, 17th century before Common Era. And it's so pretty. Oh, it's so pretty. I really like it. I had another picture to show you. What is it? I've shown you this one. I don't have many images because, unfortunately for us, there's not many images. Sorry. Of the horoscopes, and more information, and I think Umberto is going to be particularly interested in this one, is these horoscopes with Greek names may point towards a Macedonian elite in the late Babylonian society. Why is this? Because Escandar has happened. ¿Por qué lo termino mencionando en todos los directos? Why do I keep on mentioning him in all the live streams I create? God. So, the Macedonian families traveled with Iskandar in his... How should we call this? His periplo to conquer basically half of the world, or the entirety of it. And this shows that when armies move, so do families accompanying them. And this shows and teaches us a bit better about these migratory movements, not because of a necessity, but because of a historical situation being a conquest. In Babylonia, there was left a group of Macedonian elite members, of high society members, to control and to administer the city. These over time will turn up as the Seleucids, and I really don't want to delve into this, so you go listen to Humberto and Sariel speaking about the whole shebang, porque menudo quilombo, but it really is really interesting, and these kind of sources show that the people were at least trying to be integrated because these horoscopes were being created. And one of the coolest things I learned while reading and gathering all this information is that in only one horoscope, the name, the person can be identified, because we have the horoscope and then we have a scribe, very well known in colophons for Hellenistic texts, from, what was it? From Uruk. And the name of this person is Anu Bel Shunun, son of Nidintu Anu, a descendant of Sin Leke Unini. How is this interesting? Why is this important? Because we can follow this person and see this person was born in Sathid times in a very Hellenized Babylonia, but they don't have a Greek name anymore. It is a pure Babylonian name, Anu Bel Shunun. I know Anu is the divinity of the sky, and this horoscope was cast for a member of a family of scholars and priests from the temple of the Anu, the sky deity of Uruk. And again, more information. What is this telling us? That perhaps priests could create their own horoscopes, like between each other. These collectiveness of scribes could be doing the horoscopes for each other, for the kids of a friend, or for kids of a colleague, and this is super interesting. However, it is not a real reflection of how accessible these horoscopes were for the rest of the people, because let's just recap what we learned. We have Macedonian elite, we have kings and princes, and we have a bunch of scribes. This doesn't really tell us to what extent everyone, like how much or how little people had the capacity of purchasing a horoscope. We don't know either how these were made, because it's not that we keep a receipt for every single one that was cast. Now, rather it would be something much more like, I pay this person throughout the year to complete this task being creating horoscopes, but we don't know how much they were. I don't even know how much, if there was a how much. If you could just purchase one saying, hey, hello, my kid is just born and I would like a horoscope made for them. Would you come and I would pay you to create this? I don't know this. I think if I continue studying and reading, I could grasp a little bit more information. But these, as it today, it escapes me. And I think it's really, really interesting. And of course, we should not forget, as I was saying before, that this horoscope creation is an extension of the scholarly celestial divination that was constantly being done for kings. And it might be, there's these, the thesis I'm reading and enjoying a lot it's called like this, Babylonian Horoscopes by Francesca Rochberg. And I hope I pronounced their surname properly. I'm really sorry if I didn't. And it might be that these horoscopes were accessible to just a bunch of privileged citizens. But again, we don't know. We don't know the importance, the social importance of astrology in Babylonia. But again, I'm going to continue reading because this is fascinating. In the horoscopes, I was saying that let's see what was contained a little bit more specifically. We have the date of the birth and then the time of the birth. Do you remember what I was saying about the 12 thingy being divided? Is the time is given with respect to a part of the day. For example, in the beginning of the night or in the last part of the night. And the time is given with respect to the seasonal hours. And this is 12 divisions of the day whose number remain fixed, but the length varies throughout the year. These are called the simanu, and they are designated by ordinal numbers. For example, the 7th simanu. And this has the basic meaning. The word simanu, apparently, the sources means interval. But here, the 12 intervals represent the 12 divisions of the daylight and the night time. And they were used to note down the exact time of birth, which in Babylonian horoscopes was deemed very, very important. And then it follows the enumeration of the planetary position under the expression in this hour of birth. For example, in here it would be Ina Simanishu, like in this hour of birth, the moon was in this position, the sun was in this position, and so on, so on, so on. Salam, no soy Ros. I'm very happy to have you here. You're back. I hope you had a very good ride. And then we have the positions of the zodiac, and the data has varied introductions. It's different ways of presenting this information, like at this time or in this hour or that day. Salam, Aquila, are you good? So good seeing you here. We're talking about how Babylonian horoscopes are created and what data they have. We've been here for a while, but I wanted to tell you how the formulation was. And I've been very adamant about my love for formulas and my love for a system. Again, the game developer in this one rejoices at the sight of a formula, of a standardized method of doing things. You have to believe me when I tell you that this was maintained throughout the millennia, throughout the centuries, that you do this in such manner, in such fashion. This is so magnificent. So this is a very nice picture, is it? However, I want to put the one with the Pleiades out again because, Aquila is here and she's going to appreciate the Pleiades. And the man in the moon. One day, I promise, one day I will talk to you about the man in the moon. I will. So, the standard formulation of a horoscope would be as this. The moon was in X zodiacal sign. The sun was in X zodiacal sign. Jupiter in there, and they're followed by the position of Venus, Mercury, Saturn, and Mars. These positions are generally given with respect to a zodiacal sign alone. And degrees here in Babylonia are not that important for them, if you know what I mean. There is not emphasis in the degrees and the position of the planetary spheres. It's just not that important, and they do not record position of planetary synodic phenomena, but just the position of the moment. What is a synodic? Before you ask me where I have my notes. Okay. Sorry, just I'm trying to look for my notes. Oh yeah, so the synodic is related to the conjunction of stars. What is a conjunction when the stars align? Have you watched Hercules, like the Disney one? Or have you watched The Witcher with the conjunction of stars? The great conjunction in The Witcher is what creates this chaos. And, oh, gracias, bonita. Que vaya muy bien. Hasta luego. The conjunction of stars is what creates chaos, and normally in these Babylonian horoscopes this is not there. This is not important. However, a planet when the planet is in conjunction with the sun, meaning when this is like aligned with each other, the text really records that the planet is with the sun, which I think is very beautiful because we have Samash in here, and they consider the planet to have set behind the sun, or like to be merged with the sun, which I don't know if it provides any further information, but literature-wise, I think it's beautiful to read this merging with the sun, because there's an alignment of the two spheres. It has to be, however, a planet and the sun, and I think I've given you a lot of information for the time being. So I reckon this is why we're going to stop. I think it is where I stopped with also me saldrá with the Spanish stream. I think it's pretty much. I don't know what's happening with the light today, but I can swear I'm not this color. Why is this happening? What have I done wrong? Look at this paleness. Incredible. Espectacular. Incredible indeed. And so yeah, I think this might be all for today. Do you have any questions, Bacha? And I will do my best to sort them out as I try to figure out what the hell is wrong with the no, I think the synody is the conjunction in a line of the stars, meaning that you can observe with a very potent telescope. You could observe that, for example, the moon, Venus, and Jupiter are aligned in the same line from the same point of reference on Earth. That's the synodic that I was talking about. This conjunction, this alignment. It could be, however, I'm not an expert in astrology, but I want to be. And as in, oh, there's a spider on my wall. Hello. Hi. I love spiders. It could be, I want to be an expert in explaining astrology, because as I mentioned before, it's not that I believe in this, but I really enjoy it. I think it's beautiful to study and to reflect upon the many things we create and believe in as humans. And it's like mythology, it's like religion. I just very much interested on it. And but yeah, this might be all for today. If you don't have any question, I am tuning out with our lovely Fly to La Moon. And I hope this stream was not too chaotic, but thank you so much for tuning in. And yes, I'm showing off my cup because I'm a spellcaster. And spellcaster must be, I think I said the word spellcaster. I'm using a lot that word at work. Spellcaster. So, spare me a thought. I'm really happy you did, because I was feeling, you're here. It was a wee bit of a pressure because, again, I'm not an expert in these things. And, we do that too in Spain, Sohra, especially with things connected to Christianity and national festivities and such, and the position of the stars and the moon. My own calendar, I have a Tolkien calendar because I love Lord of the Rings, and my own calendar comes with the information about the moon and the sun. And it's just a Tolkien calendar with pictures of the Lord of the Rings. But there it is, however, the astronomical, in this case, information. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your kindness, and thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my patrons because they chose the topic, and I'm pretty happy that you like them. Tune in with us next week because the Mesopoturra does not stop. And next week, we're talking about Enheduanna. We're talking about Enheduanna first in Spanish and then in English. And also on Monday we have a stream. We have El Libro de los Reyes, we have the Book of Kings, and that's going to happen on the 12th. Yes, it's happening on the 12th in Spanish, and on the 19th then, or the Mesopoturra. We love the Mesopoturra eyeliner here. We do. Yay, Enheduanna! I mean, you vote for that, didn't you? Umberto, confiésate. You voted for Enheduanna. I know Sacerdotisa did. I know Nozoiros did, and I know you did too. It was you. If you want to vote and join the voting and just tell me what to do, you can support the project on Patreon, because this is because you guys are here with me and supporting me that I can continue making these streams. So yeah, it's just go on Patreon /Las Plumas de Simur and consider joining the project. There's a lot of nice stuff behind the scenes, and more things are coming. And oh no, I could have never imagined. So that would be all for the week. Thank you so much, Pacha, for being here. And as always, remember to create, to explore, and to have lots of fun. Until, Pacha, we see each other again, I bid you a Khodafez. See you next week. Oh, I hope so. See you next week. Khodafez.